Welcome to the Scoop, World Order. Happy Saturday. I hope you are tailing Doggos on Pop because he is on fire. Got another nice win today. Monster UFC card tonight. We're going to get into all that. We also have the first week of camp is in the books. Nice scrimmage today. We're going to break all that down along with Is Michigan Done? All the latest on what is going on with Michigan. Nevadabuck is back tonight. Happy to have you guys with us. Happy Saturday. I hope you guys are having a great time with your family, whatever you guys are up to today. The Scoop family is always around. So again, we appreciate you guys being on here each and every night. Again, the growth of this channel is nothing short of a phenomenon at this point. It is completely different than the rest of our competition. It is growing at a substantially higher rate. And it's all because of the Scoop family. You guys spread the word of mouth. You guys spread the good word. You guys wear the gear everywhere you guys go. We appreciate all that you guys do. Again, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, hit that little alert bell because we're going a little bit late, 7:15 tonight. Also, if you guys want to do something especially fantastic, follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Even if you are YouTube only, that helps us substantially. Growing the channel, leave us a 5-star review. Tell them you're part of the Scoop family. We appreciate all that you guys do. Again, this show is incredible. It's a huge show because you guys make it one. It's going to be another huge show tonight because you guys make it one. So we're ready to take your questions. Talk about the first week of camp, the medieval virus that has overtaken the trenches. That is very interesting. And also the latest on all of the Michigan scandal and how tone deaf they are. Jim Harbaugh is going to be their honorary captain. I don't know who's in charge up there, but they are really dumb. They're as dumb as the people that support Michigan people. So with that being said, got to bring in my good friend in Nevadabuck. We miss you. I'll extend an incredible congratulations to Devin. He was fantastic yesterday in his Scoop debut, pinch hitting for Nevada, but it's hard to get rid of the cleanup hitter that is Nevadabuck. So we appreciate you, my man. Glad that you're back. Devin, thank you so much for filling in. I know that you're on here every night moderating. But Nevada, week one of camp is in the books. Tomorrow is media day. Photo day, the family day, no practice tomorrow, kind of an off day, rest the legs, get back to it on Monday. Guys get to go out to dinner with their parents tomorrow. It's kind of a nice little break. Nice scrimmage today, but it's a little limited. Josh Simmons did not partake. They held a lot of the veterans. It's hard. I'll just be very honest with you when you're missing a couple of really good tackles and all of a sudden you can't really play Jack Sawyer. You can't really play JT, those guys are going to wreak havoc versus the second and third team tackles. So it makes Ryan Day get a little creative with how he does things. But honestly, after some work for guys like Trey and Quinshawn, a lot of those guys get pulled out, and it's more about the young guys. This is kind of like the scrimmage, now that the season is as long as an NFL season, is a lot like a preseason NFL game where the starters might play a couple drives and then they kind of back them off a little bit just because – if something would happen to Jack Sawyer or JT or some of these guys, you'd be beside yourself if you're Ryan Day and this coaching staff. So those guys have put in the work. Those guys are proven. Let's let these young guys eat a little bit. But your thoughts on the first week of preseason camp?
Well, it's funny because I think what's really struck me about this camp, and this isn't always the way that it is, because every camp has a different feel, and we try to give you guys a feel of what's going on with the team, and we try to avoid just the pablum of, oh, everything's tough, oh, everybody loves each other, oh, this is going to be, we try to give you a sense for the team, because some teams lack veteran leadership. Some years we've told you the conditioning wasn't hard enough. We've actually told you that we've had players go to Coach Mick or to Ryan and say, hey, amp up, the conditioning's not hard enough. We've talked about the physicality or the lack of physicality sometimes in previous camps. So we try to give you an accurate picture of what's going on. And what I'd say one of the adjectives that I would most describe this camp on is really physical. I mean, it has been a physical camp, and it's so physical that I've had people that are going to this that are listening. It's the most physical camp they've ever seen. I mean, it's absolutely crazy how physical this is, and it feels like an NFL type of situation. I mean, you've got guys kind of going out there doing their thing, in a situation where you've got a lot of depth. So you've got the young guys are kind of working their way through, trying to get better as we kind of get ready for this NFL type season. You've got the first 3 games almost feeling like exhibition games. And, I think that, for Ryan Day, his challenge, as you said, is you don't want to get any of these big guys hurt. You don't want to get, a Jack Sawyer or a JT Tumaloa or a Donnie Jackson or a Jimmy Simmons or anybody, banged up before you kind of go into this 16, 17 game season. But on the other hand, you want to set a physical tone. You want to kind of get to the point where, we get back to running the football with authority, and we're tough in short yardage. We're tough in the red zone. We're the more physical team. We can kind of exert our will against other teams. And I think Ryan's done a heck of a job in terms of doing it so far, through 5, 6 practices, whatever it is, setting that physical tone, letting the guys know that, for them, the identity of this team is changing right before our eyes. When you bring in a Chip Kelly, when you bring in a big physical quarterback like Will Howard, who runs the ball, who does those sort of things, it changes everything. It changes the way the defense practices. It changes the way that the offense practices. It changes the mood of the team. It changes the way that the team feels about itself. And I'm telling you, this is going to be a physical football team. This isn't going to be a chuck and duck type of group out there. And I'm really liking what I'm seeing so far from the 2024 Buckeyes.
Well, I think that, what the blocking has been emphasized by the receivers, by Chip Kelly, and let's be honest, the blocking has been atrocious the last few years by the wide receiver group, which is interesting because Brian Hartline is one of the best blockers we've ever had. He was tough as nails, and it just, when it's not demanded of these guys and they get a little too soft, and all of a sudden it kills the running game the same way not running the quarterback does. So the receivers have been issued an edict by Chip Kelly to be physical and to block and to stop being selfish. And I think that that's going to be something that's going to be really interesting to watch. Because again, if I'm Trey Henderson and Quinshawn and some of these guys, and I've got a crack in daylight, and I keep getting ran down by these safeties and some of these other guys that are supposed to be getting taken out by these receivers, I'd say, hey guys, like, can I eat too? I stay back there and if we're in a 6-man protection and I have to pass protect versus a blitzing linebacker, like, I take one right on the chops so you guys can get open. So why don't you guys return the favor? And again, running backs hate blocking. No running back in the universe likes to pass block, but it's part of the deal now in modern football. And I think that there's been, a specific turnaround where it's like, hey, we got to get on the edge, block these guys. So it's been a physical camp. I mean, the perimeter guys, they do not cut deals with each other. I'm talking perimeter. I'm talking corners versus receivers, safeties versus slots, safeties versus tight ends. It is a physical deal, very intense, a lot of jawing, and that's good. Like, again, I want guys to hate each other out on that practice field, because you don't want it to be some, just chill session, and because when you have that kind of that chain gang mentality on the field during training camp, then all of a sudden when these guys get unleashed on Akron and they're all on the same side, it'll be a prison beating. That's what we expect. And it would be like that anyways, just because we have enough talent. But I'm talking about, you need to take that to Oregon, take that to Allison Stadium, and take that chain gang mentality, which is something that these guys, they want to be more physical. Again, I know something that's always been interesting is Chip Kelly and his speed and tempo, and when you have a horizontal running game, it's never considered to be physical. But physicality can also come with hyper tempo, and we've done a lot of hyper tempo where we go really fast. And again, that was kind of legislated out of football a little bit, but they're trying to get back into it a little bit because, it's a lot easier to punish somebody when you gas them out. Which again, that's something that Chip Kelly's offense is state of the art at, is gassing guys out. Again. Jimmy Johnson had the greatest saying in the history of football, and really the greatest saying in the history of any type of sport is fatigue makes cowards of us all. And again, when you go that hyper tempo and teams aren't used to that, it fatigues guys. And no matter how big and mean and tough you are, when you get tired, all of a sudden you're none of those. You're not big, you're not mean, you're not tough, you're none of that. But if you're cardioed up, and again, that's why our offensive linemen, they're all lighter. They're in great shape right now, because this is what we're going to do to teams. We're gonna hyper drive them into oblivion, and they're not going to be able to keep up. And again, I'm the biggest proponent of going fast because I've seen it work. We did it against Penn State in 2012. I'll never forget. We're out there and it's late in the game, and we decided to go tempo and go as fast as we possibly can. And they had a great defensive tackle, number 47, got drafted by the Seahawks in like the second or third round. And by like the sixth play, he was standing straight up, couldn't even get in a stance. He was so tired, and we were just mauling him. And again, it's something because people think, well, do the big fat slow offensive linemen, do they like tempo? Don't they get tired too? Well, yeah. I mean, of course you get tired when you're an offensive lineman, don't it? But offensive linemen are used to playing full drives. Like defensive linemen are not, and that is the great equalizer is the fact that when a defensive lineman is used to playing 3 or 4 snaps at a time and then jogging off and getting Gatorade and then he gets subbed out and then all of a sudden he has to play 6 or 7 plays in a row, that is where it gets really, really nasty. And you can just maul people. And again, when you do that, the way that Chip Kelly likes to stretch the field horizontally is when you run sideline to sideline. You do little jet sweeps or push passes to Jaden Ballard or a Mecca or Brandon Ennis or those guys that are really good. I mean, Mecca's the best guy in the country at running the horizontal sweep. So I think he's gonna feast doing that along with Brandon Ennis. But you get those guys running sideline to sideline. I mean, they gas out, and it's going to be devastating watching our offense do that. And our defense has gotten a nice taste of that. The scrimmage was very competitive. Again, I always take some of the DN stuff with a grain of salt because when you've got Austin Sauerveld as your left tackle, it's been tough because Austin hasn't played left tackle at all at Ohio State until this week when the hand, foot, and mouth epidemic has broken out at the Woody Hayes, and it's kind of like a chicken pox type of thing that's very contagious, and they don't want guys next to each other, and they send a bunch of guys home, and it's a weird. Again, I tell people going to training camp, you never know what is the crisis. Like you don't know if it's going to be too many guys pull hamstrings, or you always expect a couple guys to get sick, but this is a weird one because I don't know if we've ever had this as a major outbreak at the Woody, but it's breaking out right now, and there's some guys that are starting to hopefully going to be back on Monday, but a lot of guys missed the scrimmage on the O-line and D-line, so it was kind of a mishmash. And when you lose a couple tackles at any program in America, it's not very fun. But these guys will be back. And again, I'm glad they're getting it out of their system now because they'll still have a couple weeks to get conditioned up for Akron and be ready to roll. Nevada, any thoughts on that? And we will talk a little Michigan afterwards.
Well, yeah, I mean, just a weird, like you said, a weird contagious disease kind of going around. It's affecting, everything from, what surfaces they can touch, who can snap the ball. Dude, I mean, it's crazy. I'd never, I'm not that I hadn't heard of it before, but I'd never really, I guess, experienced it up close and personal in terms of, having something like this affect a program that I'm covering. So, this is definitely one for the books. But yeah, I think it's causing, there's always the law of unintended consequences, and there's always a silver lining whenever this stuff happens. It's getting a lot of guys some reps because a lot of guys that are otherwise fully healthy are out right now, and so you're having to dig deep on the depth chart, move some other guys around. Um, Normally, not I shouldn't say normally, but in recent past where we've had Notre Dame week 1, Oregon week 2, or something like that, this stuff would be an issue to me. I mean, it really would be because you have to get ready. You have to get ready to play, and you have to be sharp, and you have to be ready to go. We don't have that kind of schedule this year. We have a schedule that allows us to bring things along slowly in fall camp and move some guys around, work on our cohesion and togetherness, as it were, in the first few games, because the first few games are basically glorified scrimmages, with an off week mixed in there as well. So I think we've got the schedule where we can handle something like this, so it's not that big of a deal. And yeah, the OSU training staff is definitely gonna earn their money getting these guys back. But I really think there might be some benefits to this because guys that wouldn't have ordinarily gotten reps with the ones are getting them right now. And I think stuff like that is always valuable, whether it be this year, middle of the season, or next year. But I certainly think there's a benefit.
I think there's huge value in that. And again, like I said, there's always guys that grumble, and there's always guys that say, well, I wish I was running with the ones, or Dad, I'm not getting a chance, or whatever. Oh, golly gee whiz, like Coach doesn't like me, or whatever. Well, now there's guys that are moving from the 3s up to the 2s and 2s up to the 1s. And, now they're getting a taste of that limelight where now you're blocking for Will Howard and Trey Henderson and Quinn Sean. And, it's it's much different when you're on the starting lineup because all of a sudden you're seeing Jack and JT. You're seeing Quinn. You're seeing Ty Leak. You're seeing the dudes now. And again, I remember when I went up from the twos to the ones when I was a player. It's like now you're playing the best guys on the team now. Normally those guys are reserved for the starters, and now you're out there and you're the guy. And not to mention you're blocking for Justin Zwick, Troy Smith, San Antonio's counting on you to get your pass block. Everyone's counting on you. When you're a backup, it's like people are counting on you, but if you get hurt and you're a third string guy, it's not the end of the world. If you're a first string guy and you get hurt, it's a bad day for the program. So, I like it because, guys, I like seeing guys get a shot because then I think you get more of a firm eval and you see if guys can step up to the plate or not. Because that's something that you never really know until they're thrown into that first huddle. Because it is a world of difference when all of a sudden everybody is all over you, and they I love seeing that Austin Seyerville's with the ones and some of these other guys because those are guys that we're going to need next year. Again, you're getting a nice audit right now on the abilities of these guys, and again, I've seen guys go belly up. I mean, belly up like a fish in the ocean that's laying there dead when they get put in that first huddle. They get scared. Because like I said, it's not for everybody. There's a lot of guys that they kind of hope that they never have to go in that starting huddle. They kind of hope that they could just kind of get through everything and get by and whatever. But when you get some of these guys up there, it's really good. And that's why when you have guys like JJ who's in the first huddle after the first week, it's okay. He's the best receiver in America already as a freshman. So. Oh, let's go. It's funny when you listen to some of these coaches talk about the receivers, they say him before Emeka, and that's not some accident, and it's not because they're doing reverse alphabetical order. It's because he's the best receiver we have. But and again, if you're the best receiver in Ohio State's receiving room, you are de facto the best receiver in the country because that's how it is right now. That's how talented it is. So I'm excited about JJ. He's been a dog. I think him and Emeka could both be All-Americans this year just because of what Chip Kelly's going to do with both of them. They're not going to get single covered. This is the biggest group of All-American candidates I've ever seen. So I think Josh Simmons is an All-American candidate. Donnie Jackson. You have two linemen for sure. Josh Fryer, outside shot of maybe a second, third team type All-American guy. Our two running backs could both be first-team All-American. Our quarterback could be a first-team All-American. And again, the story of camp from the people I've talked to some people at Scrimmage today, is Will Howard is going to be, he's not Stroud, he's not Haskins, he's like a super JT, bigger, maybe a touch faster, but bigger, better thrower, similar type leader. And if we get that kind of production, then we're going to win the national title. I don't think it's going to be close. But he can float now. I mean, he can run. He's again, in terms of the tall white dude, he's kind of like Trevor Lawrence. Like if there was a bet in the 2019 Clemson Ohio State game that Trevor Lawrence would run 80 or whatever it was, 75 yards versus our defense. There isn't a human being on this earth that's taking that bet when you see that we've got Okuda and Arnett and all these 4-3 guys out there. But somehow he did it. I mean, I know Josh Proctor slipped, but that's kind of what Will Howard is. You're not going to look at that guy if he's walking, out on the fairway at Muirfield and say, oh, that guy's he's going to be, some dynamic runner. But when he gets out there, man, he can boogie. He's like Josh Allen. People don't think Josh Allen's fast, but you get him out there on that field, man, he runs for 600-700 yards a year and 10 touchdowns. And you're like, wow, that's a different dimension that we haven't had in a while. Nevada, your thought? Because again, I think Will Howard is as sneaky of a Heisman bet as I've seen in a long time. Because this is going to be one. It's going to be like your boy Luciano today, where she went off as a minus 150, and she looked like a minus 10,000 after about the first round. For people that are sharp in betting UFC fights, shout out Dogus on Poppy. Again, if you guys don't tell him, I don't know what you're doing with your life, but he is cooking big time. But your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, Will's legit fast. I mean, he is legit fast. I said at the end of the show, I really believe he's going to win the Heisman. I think that is such a great bet. I think there's still some value in that bet because I think the rest of the country hasn't really tuned into it yet, or maybe has been listening to a false narrative about Will Howard. But he is really good. Super JT Barrett is exactly how I describe him. He does everything a little bit better than JT did it, and he's operating in an offense that's absolutely perfect for a quarterback like Will Howard, and and with weapons that Ohio State's never seen anything like that. It's to have Trey Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins along with Carnell Tate and Emeka and JJ. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches on the offensive side right now. And Chipka is loving all the new toys, and Will Howard is he's the perfect horse for the course. And yeah, if I were you, yeah, I give you guys bets here from time to time. I would say, hey, bet Harbaugh to the Chargers at plus 350, or bet Michigan under 9.5 wins. And you guys know, if you guys are on the show, you remember those things. Well, I'm telling you right now, Will Howard to win the Heisman. I like that a lot. I think you can still get some value in that. And certainly he'll be a guy that's going to get invited because Ohio State's going to be the best team in the country. He's the quarterback, and he's going to put up ridiculous numbers this year.
Yeah. Nevada, the Michigan thing is rambling on. I don't know what, like, sometimes I know they're dumb, but they try to make themselves dumber and double down and do dumber things. So naming Jim Harbaugh the honorary captain for week 1, like the blood isn't even dry yet, is, I think, insane. And I don't know who's making these calls, but what are your thoughts, Nevada? Again, I think that, thumbing your nose at the NCAA is dumb at best and impossibly stupid at worst. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just think it's just pandering. It's just, there's that book where the Chase or whatever the thing's called, and Harbaugh's got in there with excerpts from the book talking about how much he hates Ward Manuel, how he doesn't trust him. Ostensibly, that's why he didn't sign the extension, even though we all know the reason he didn't sign the extension was because he'd be fired and suspended for a year and on a show cause for 4 years just for this. The next one's gonna be way worse. So for the next decade, he's gonna be under a show cause. So yeah, there's no love lost there. So when you see this, you just they're just pandering. They're going in there and they're trying to put on a brave face.
Oh,
I'm not sure if it's going to work.
Okay. You're back. And he's back. Yeah, I think that what Michigan's doing is silly. I mean, again, it's in line with when they did the bet, and they're all tweeting bet, and I'm just like, it's so bad. Like, you'd think that there'd be an adult somewhere in the board of trustees who would think better of the stupidity going on. But there really isn't. Like, that's the stunning thing to me. Nevada, the thing I was saying is that I don't know why there isn't an adult in the board of trustees who puts his foot down, so one of these billionaires, and says, hey, okay, like, we get, like, we like thumbing our nose and doing the middle finger and just being obtuse. But this is like when they were all tweeting bet, like when your boy Yoko Ono and Ward Manuel and all the players are tweeting bet, like they're cute, like they're smart, like they're we're gonna get over on the NCAA, because then that's what I really think that this comes down to, is I think that they really think they're gonna get over on the NCAA on this one, and I'm like, the NCAA is like, it's like the mountain holding the sword over your head, from Game of Thrones, and then there's like the one chick who was the Mother of Dragons, like, homegirl, and he's got the sword up in the air, and all of a sudden it comes down and you see the head go flying. Like, it's like they're down there and they're thinking, well, the mountain's not going to swing that sword. There ain't no way. It's not going to happen. He's not going to execute me. But that's really what I think that they're thinking. Oh, something's going to happen, or he'll get struck by lightning and it's not going to go down. But I can't believe how tone deaf they are. Like I said, if I was running the show, I'd say, guys, like, stop lying to the NCAA, stop doubling down. Like, our head coach, who we are honoring, is literally, again, he's suspended for a year, and you're bringing him back, and people are like, oh, well, doesn't matter because he's not there anymore. I was like, well, even still, man, that is impossibly bad. Like, you don't see Arizona State bringing Herm Edwards back when he's got like a 5-year show cause and all the guys that were at Arizona State cheating their balls off. So again, I would try to distance myself as far as possible, as far away as I could from this guy. But they're flying him in 4 hours to have him in for the whatever meaningless game because he's not going to be the honorary captain for the Texas game. I know that usually in the NFL there's that one weekend of college football where the NFL's making their final cuts and they're off when college football opens up. So that's probably the only reason he could do this. But I just it's like they're pandering to the dumbest portion of their fan base that thinks we didn't do anything wrong, nothing's going to happen. The NCAA is powerless. I was like, well, we'll see if they're powerless. I mean, they just suspended your coach for a full year and gave him 4-year show cause. And Sharon Moore is a repeat offender, and you have 5 level 1. So we're going to find out. And again, that was over him lying about a cheeseburger that he ate at 7 in the morning, at the M Brew Pub or whatever it was. He had cheeseburger and a glass of milk because he is truly the weirdest human being on this earth. I mean, even if it's 7 a.m. in Vegas after a long night, I still don't think I could eat a cheeseburger with a glass of milk, but it's just me. Any other thoughts about it? We'll dig into some super chats.
Yeah, no, just you got to remember, first of all, the bet thing, that was all in the context of when they were talking about them getting the temporary restraining order so that Harbaugh could coach and they were going to defeat evil Tony Petitti. That was the whole thing. So how did that bet work out there, guys? That it didn't work out so well. So first of all, they've got no credibility when it comes to that stuff, when it comes to their bluster. But secondly, you know, the NCAA, the story of the NCAA is that Michigan is a football program and an athletic department program that is out of control, that doesn't care about the rules, that's a repeat offender, that lacks institutional control, and basically is the inmates running the asylum. And so, what do? After they suspend you, they announce a 4-year show cause and a suspension. You bring the coach back to honor him for the game. Look, that isn't going to play well with the NCAA. And the NCAA, you can say, oh, that doesn't matter. I guarantee you it matters because it's a giant FU, and these guys aren't stupid. They see what this is. You're reinforcing the point that they're making about your program. And I think they're making a tragic mistake. I think they thought it was kind of clever and it was kind of way, we'll give the double birds and, we're not going to dance for the man and we'll do it. I think they're making an incredible miscalculation, and I think it's going to cost them big time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see how this thing works out. All right, we can get into some super chats. Again, I appreciate you guys. Our Pay It Forward Fund has been fantastic. We've signed up a ton of new veterans recently, police officers. If you guys have any candidates or you think you qualify for it, you need a military ID, send it to buckeyescoop@gmail.com. We will get you guys hooked up. We appreciate all you guys have nominated, some including Devin, who nominated a great veteran, and we appreciate you. He's been a great add to the board. Rohan Van Gogh, appreciate you, brother. I hope you're doing good tonight. Thank you for the 5. Is Will Howard consistent at throwing deep to JJ? I need to see them get a touchdown together on the first play of the drive like we did versus Western Kentucky last year. Yeah, they've got a lot of chemistry, man. I mean, it's getting to the point now where it's not stupid, but I mean, Ryan knows that Will's going to be the starter. Will's far and away the best quarterback on the roster. He's the guy that's going to do it all. So, yeah, you got to start getting him tuned in with JJ and with the Mecca. But the good thing about receivers is that these guys, when they're workaholics, they worked all summer, all spring, long time in the Woody, a lot of chemistry. JJ is the kind of guy that he's not hard to find if you need him. He'll get up at 10 o'clock at night and go run routes and work the craft. And that's why he's the first freshman in the history of Ohio State's program to be an Iron Buckeye, which is insane. Because that's the kind of worker he is. Like, freshmen never get that. They're usually not even considered for that, but that's what JJ is. JJ not only is a prodigious talent, but he's a prodigious worker. Like, he's one of the hardest workers in school history already. He's a Johnny Simon type worker, just as a wide receiver in a hypercar body. I mean, he's a Bugatti with dreadlocks. Is basically what he is. So he is a monstrous talent. And again, I don't know if he'll score 2 against Akron. I would be shocked if he didn't score 1. Like, if that was a prop bet, I don't know how much money I lay on it, but I think that they're going to make a statement with him early And I don't think anybody at Akron is going to be ready for. He's the T-Rex, man. He is terrifying out there, and it's like Jim Knowles said, when you single up against that guy, man, you better. He literally said, "You hold your breath." And guys like Jim Knowles, who's 85 years old and eats his vegan tofu every morning, like he doesn't get out and say that kind of stuff about a freshman unless he's really that dude. So, Nevada, Rohan Von Gold, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Is Will Howard consistent at throwing deep to JJ? I need to see them get a touchdown together on the first play of the drive, like we did versus Western Kentucky last year. And also, Nevada, did you see JJ McCarthy today?
Yeah, well, I saw his interception. Actually, JJ, to his credit, ended up with a decent. His stat line was decent, so he actually did better than I thought he would. But his first interception did please me. But no, on Will Howard, I mean Will Howard throws a nice high ball on those deep shots right there. And when you do that, you give your guys a chance to kind of, with those big catch radiuses, to adjust and kind of get underneath it. And I mean, he's dropping them in there right now. Those guys are starting to figure it out. Great wide receivers will kind of make up for any errant throws that you're making. But Will throws a nice deep ball. He gets it out there in front of the guys, lets them run underneath it, and they're going to use that liberally this year. Chip loves to throw it deep. When the defense presents itself, and when you've got a guy that's a true Marmaduke like J.J. Smith, you're definitely going to push the ball down the field, and Will Howard can certainly do that.
Totally agree. Corey, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Thoughts on the future of the O-line and Fry? Says we lose out on Sanders and Petty. Can't wait for the Akron game. Nevada OH. Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. It looks like we're going to lose out on both those guys. Again, I don't think that the fat lay is completely sung, and I always wait till signing day before I bury everything because coaches can leave, staffs can turn over, especially Georgia Tech. If a kid picks Georgia Tech over Ohio State, I don't really know what to say other than he's a weird bird. And I've gotten a lot of intel on Petty over the last 48 hours that his family is very different. Again, like if you're a 5-star level player and you're picking Georgia Tech to play football, I don't know what in the universe you're thinking, because the biggest thing I'd always tell these kids is I'm like, look, if you don't come to Ohio State, make sure you go somewhere that isn't a stepping stone school. Because again, if Georgia Tech does anything this year, and that coach, who is a pretty good coach, raises the caliber of that program up, there's a good chance he's going to be gone. He's going to get offered an SEC job, a higher level Big Ten job, a good job in the ACC. I don't know, but that's a transient position. Guys don't say, "Man, you know where I want to go play at? You know where I want to go coach at? Georgia Tech." And once I get there, that's all. Because you're always going to be. You're not even second fiddle to Georgia. You're like 18th fiddle to Georgia. You're so far behind the Bulldogs, it's not even funny. And you're never going to get any of the great players in Georgia now that it's been infested with Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Florida State. Like, this is not going to happen. So that is silly. David Sanders Jr. to Tennessee, which is where all the Fong bombs are coming in from. Like, I don't really care. Again, the kid made his decision, or hasn't made it yet, but it looks like that's the direction it's going to head. I don't care. Again, I know there's nobody in the universe that cares less about this stuff than I do, because for the last 3 years, I've heard it say, well, we lost Jackson Carman and Samson Okunloa and Chantrell Henderson and Jordan Seaton, Caden Proctor, and like somehow we can still field a football team that's ranked second in the nation in every single poll. So somehow, with the magic of the portal, we're still going to be fine. And guess what? Our left tackle is our left tackle that we have this year is better than any of the recruits that we've lost in the last 3 years. So there you go. Now, maybe there might be one guy that's better. Maybe the one guy from Bama might be better, or Ernest Green might be better, but that's it. So we got Josh Simmons, who is as talented as any of those guys. He's definitely a better athlete than any of those guys. So, somehow, some way, they didn't cancel football at Ohio State because we lost some random 5-star that went to Tennessee and to Georgia Tech. Again, it's one thing if these kids pick Georgia at this point. It's not even Bama, because Bama doesn't have Saban anymore. But when they're picking Tennessee, who's like 8th in the SEC, and then you have one taking Georgia Tech, like I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I mean, Jordan Seaton, literally, who is the number 1 tackle in the country, decided to go play for, you guessed it, Coach Prime. And I'm just like, In what universe would you ever trust your career if you are some sort of incredible 5-star talent to Deion Sanders, whose kid is going to be out of here after this year? Travis Hunter is going to be out of there after this year. I bet Deion is out of there after this year. Because they sucked last year with Shedeur Sanders, who's a top 5 quarterback in the draft. And what are they going to be like when he's gone? They're going to suck again this year. They're going to end up being 4-8. They'll turn into Any Given Sunday. It'll be like it's like Last Chance U with Rolls Royce Wraiths and Richard Mille watches. Like, that's all it is. It's Last Chance U. It's some of the dumbest kids. Deion, and again, I was a big Deion fan, like, growing up, but I'm not sending my kid to play for him. I don't care what kind of jiving he does to me, because again, he acts like a clown. And there's teams like Oregon who they're coached by real guys like Dan Lanning, and USC like Lincoln Riley. They're going to run the train on those guys. So again, they see all this cheap heat that Deion gets. So when they run into like real football coaches, they're going to smash them. Obviously, I know they're not playing Oregon USC this year. They played them last year, but they got ran through. So when Colorado, who likes to yap and talk and do whatever, when they run into real teams, they get absolutely ran over. They get smashed because, again, they're soft, they're weak mentally, and they're once they go on one of those skids, their culture is too brittle, and it's like the infighting and the implosion that happens is always spectacular to watch. So that's the only reason anybody cares is because they can't wait for them to be 2-6, and then all of a sudden, you got these guys acting like morons on the sideline. But Nevada, your thoughts on the future of the O-line and Fry, since if we lose out on David Sanders Jr. and Petty, can't wait for the Akron game. What are your thoughts?
I like the young guys we have. I like our young guys in our room. And with the transfer portal, there's no excuses. I mean, you're Ohio State, so I'm just not worried about it. I'm just not. I've been hearing about the offensive line and offensive line recruiting for 20 years. And every year there's like, now the chickens are going to come. It's finally going to be the time. And now we just keep rolling out guys to the NFL, early entrants to the NFL, starting tackles in the NFL, great offensive teams. And this year we've got one of the best teams that I've ever seen. So if it starts affecting play, then I'll be color me concerned. But now Justin Fry, I think Justin Fry is a below average. I put this on the board. I said I think he's a below average recruiter and probably an average developer. That's just my opinion on him. I reserve the right to change my mind. I hope that he goes on to great things and does amazing stuff. But from talking to people like yourself, as well as other people that follow the offensive line play, they don't like the way he coaches. They don't like the way that he does things. They don't think he's particularly technical, and that concerns me. So I reserve the right to change my mind. I'm rooting for him to be successful. It's nothing personal. But up until now, he's been a disappointment. There's no other way to put it. Having said that, I'm not the least bit concerned about it because I think Ohio State can persevere and move on. And in this age of where everybody's a coach. It's like the Oprah Winfrey thing. Everybody gets a car. Everybody's a coach now. I think that the offensive line coach has probably never been less important than he is because you've got 57 guys coaching guys on the field now. And I think they can make up for it.
Totally agree. Gary Gamello, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for the 10. For the O-line, we hear about the importance of footwork, strength, quickness, stance, and having a solid base. But can you talk about the importance of intelligence for an O-lineman? That's a great question. I think that it's not just intelligence, like he can take a good ACT. It's how quick can he process plays, how quick can he process blitzes and know what's going on. And again, you don't have to be a neurosurgeon. There's plenty of guys that aren't particularly bright off the field that become great offensive linemen, but you have to be able to process stuff quick because the thing about playing offensive line is there's no law that says that this is what you're going to get when you get to the game on Saturday. There's no law that says this is how they're going to play us. This is how they're going to blitz us. This is how they're going to pressure us. This is how they're going to pass rush. Like, there's no law. So you have to be ready to change things on the fly. And, the center's got to be really sharp. He's got to be able to pick up blitzes and try to, a lot of times it's just guessing. It's not guessing, but it's like taking a very educated guess. in betting. Again, it's you have to say, okay, I see the safety's moving. The tell that we had from last week is that if the safety moves off the hash, that means the corner's coming. If he goes this way, then that means that it's coming from the other way, and the Sam linebacker's coming, or the nickel's coming, or whatever, or there's a cross dog, or this guy's got his foot a certain way, and so that means that he's going to pinch. There's a million little things that we'd pick up on film, and we try to verify if that was going to be how it would be in the game at that week. But like I said, I don't know how to put this, but this is something I'm just gonna just address real quick. Like, it's not, some of the smartest guys that you meet on earth don't end up being great football players because they don't have selective amnesia, and they end up beating the crap out of themselves to the point where they're like paralyzed once they get on the field. So sometimes you get guys that are exceptionally smart and they can't handle playing at Ohio State because the game is very hard. You're going to have bad days, bad plays, bad games. It's all out in public, and there are guys that like get obsessive compulsive and they read the mean tweets and they read all the hate and all the craziness that people say to them, and it ain't good. And again, there's some guys that just in practice it's like compound interest. Well, they'll compound their problems, or they'll have a bad play or a bad set or whatever, and then all of a sudden it turns into they can't shake it. So again, intelligence is really important just to evaluate what's going on defense, how quickly you can change things. A lot of stuff is doing things on the fly. But like I said, the negative to it is the fact that you've got guys that overanalyze stuff and psychoanalyze stuff, and guys that are like again, I'm not against being hard on yourself. I was very hard on myself as a player at Ohio State and as a football player and as a podcast or whatever. I'm very hard on myself. But at that token, there's a point where you can't just beat yourself to death. And there are some kids that I know that I've played with, I've been around, kids that have been in the program recently, they would just beat themselves to death because of what morons would say about them. Again, you have to understand, we have a lot of great Ohio State fans. We have a lot of very stupid Ohio State fans. And I mean that sincerely. We have people that beat these kids to death, incessantly. People that are just impossibly stupid. They're completely worthless human beings, and they like to say nasty things about players and people and whatever. And it's like, they're irrelevant in life, but some of these guys can't shake them off. So that's something that I tell these guys. I'm like, look, and I tell this to the players when I was coaching. I was like, look, none of these, you're never going to spend any money to go watch these people do anything, but they're going to pay their hard-earned money to buy tickets to the game and to watch you on Saturday. So, when they get nasty and critical, like, just remember that they couldn't do what you do. If they had to walk out of that tunnel and go block some first round 6'7", 310-pound defensive lineman, like, they'd probably fall over and die as soon as they got out on the field in front of the entire world. So, like, don't sweat it. Like, don't sweat what some moron has to say. And some of those kids, like, the light bulb comes up, it's like, you know what, you're right. Wow, those guys really couldn't do what I do. And I'm like, yeah, dude. So don't sit out there and just beat yourself to death. Because again, I tell some of these kids, man, just fake it till you make it. Because some of these kids, like, it's like they're their own worst enemy. And I'm like, dude, like, you got to get out of your own head. And I saw kids whose careers ended because they couldn't. They didn't end, but they never ended up becoming good players at Ohio State because they just couldn't shake getting beat. And I'm like, dude, like, it's Ohio State, everybody gets beat. Like, I got beat like a drum as a freshman. But I'm going against Will Smith, best player in the country, best defensive end in the country. So I'm going to get smashed by him. Just there's no shame in that. But you got to figure out a way to stay in front of the guy like that, and it makes you better. Like, again, like, we live in this moronic society where it's like people will dog out Denzel Burke because J.J. Smith will dunk on him, moss on him, score a 65-yard touchdown on him. People dog out Denzel. I'm like, dude, like, do you know how many guys can cover JJ at this point? There probably isn't a guy in the country that can cover JJ singled up. But they beat down Denzel, who's one of the three or four best corners in the nation this year. But that's just what it is. So, Nevada, your thoughts? Anything to add to the intelligence or the importance of intelligence for an offensive lineman?
Well, I just always thought it was interesting, the Wonderlic Tech, which is not obviously a perfect predictor of anything, but it's a pretty good idea of general intelligence. The two position groups that always consistently grow out the highest at the NFL draft are quarterback and offensive lineman, and I just always found that to be really interesting. I think obviously intellect for, on the offensive side, defense is just about seek and destroy and blow stuff up, but offense is about precision, and that's why typically in these camps defenses run ahead of offense because precision takes a while to kind of come along, and defense is something that you can go out there, you can blow stuff up pretty quickly, but got to be smart to be an offensive lineman, that, and the best ones are really really smart, and we've got a group of really really smart kids this year, so we're pretty blessed.
Totally agree. Andre Duke, thanks for the deuce. Is Sharon Moore the team at North Horridor? Yeah, I think that's a great description. He's not very smart at all, but he's going to be the guy that's going to hold the door, and then all of a sudden the White Walkers going to break down the door and eat him. So I think the White Walkers, being the NCAA, are an unstoppable force, and they're going to end up eating poor Horridor. So I think that's a very accurate description. Nevada, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, he's going to be out the door, Sharon out the door. So I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to hold the door, but he's definitely going to be the guy holding the bag for sure. And we also would happen to pull old Hordor there, but yeah, no, Sharon's the fall guy. You know that, I know that, and I'm telling you, I don't think he's going to survive. When the NCAA gives him his show cause for trying to obstruct the Stallions' investigation, I don't know how he survives. I think he's going to be gone.
Totally agree. Jared Haddle, appreciate you, my friend. Hope you're doing great. Do you guys think the reason Ward hasn't been fired is because the Board of Trustees can't find someone dumb enough to take the job when it's available? I mean, who would want it when the NCAA is done? I don't know. I mean, Michigan's been making horrific decisions for about a year now, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that they could fire him and appoint an interim, someone in the building to be interim guy and get a search committee and go there. Because, it's still Michigan. I mean, Michigan's still going to be a job that's going to be desirable for athletic directors. And, I think that, it's going to be pretty bloody. Because, like, if I'm sitting there and I'm the board of trustees, I'm like, how's this guy, after the Juwan Howard scandal and lawsuit that happened, and then the football thing that's going on with the cheating, and then the hockey stuff, which hasn't even broke yet, that we already have. I don't know what else needs to happen. Maybe he has to go murder somebody, and they'll finally get rid of him. But it's pretty bad up there. Like I said, if any one of those three, I'd be questioning. Maybe not the Juwan Howard thing. Juwan's a moron, but I just, for the life of me, I don't understand what they're thinking. And then they double down and they have Jim Harbaugh back as the honorary captain, which is complete insanity to me. But again, these guys haven't been making the sharpest decisions, and kind of is what it is at this point. But Nevada, do you think the reason Ward hasn't been fired yet is because the Board of Trustees can't find someone dumb enough to take the job when it's available? I mean, who would want it when the NCAA is done? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think eventually, Ward's going to be gone, but I think he's got to navigate them through this NCAA thing first. And so right now, he's kind of doing the bidding. The Board of Trustees. Think about it. I mean, he's now managed to get rid of that thug basketball coach. He's got rid of Harbaugh, which he always wanted to do. You know that, I know that, and we were saying that when everybody else was like, "Oh, he's supporting him. Look at him. He's supporting. He's hugging him. He wants him to be here." We're like, "No, he doesn't. He does not want to be here." And now all of a sudden it comes out, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, of course. We all knew he didn't want to be there." Like, guys, come on. We tried to tell you this, but no, I think the life cycle of this is going to be Michigan gets hammered with the NCAA violations, but they at least find out, they know the extent of the penalties, and then Ward Manuel resigns, retires, whatever, moves on to the sunset, and then the new guy kind of comes in to present the NCAA. This is the new look Michigan football, Michigan athletics, and I'm here to kind of navigate the waters, kind of like the way that Penn State did it, and some other schools have done it when they face scandal.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Nevada, nice show. We can wrap this thing up a little bit early tonight. Any final thoughts?
No, just it's fun watching Physicality return to Ohio State. Obviously, we're praying for no injuries, and so far nothing major. Hoof and mouth and whatever mad cow disease or whatever is going around. This too will pass, and just excited about this Ohio State team. We're literally weeks away from one of the most exciting seasons that I can ever remember. And so far, so good in fall camp, and everything's proceeding as planned.
Yep. Absolutely appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great Saturday night tonight. A lot of good football on. Tis the season. NFL football's on. Brownies. We're playing the Packers. That's over. Bengals are on right now. So I hope you guys are enjoying these games. As always, we appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys for all that you guys do. The Scoop family has never been stronger. It has definitely never been better. So thank you guys for being a part of it. Again, it is an incredible group, and it's never been better. As always, I appreciate all that you guys do. Do you guys feel especially fantastic? Consider subscribing to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Those are huge for us. Do the 5-star reviews. Those are both going to be big growth platforms during the season. So we appreciate you guys. With that being said, again, this was a huge show because you guys made it one. So thank you. As always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. Go Bucks.